What about the Chinese economy? After relying on new energy vehicles following the real estate sector, who will take over the growth after new energy vehicles peak in 2030? It must have characteristics: industry scale over 1 trillion, high-tech content, and a large industrial chain to drive upgrades and solve employment issues. Low-altitude economy possesses these characteristics. First, let me explain the term low altitude. It refers to the airspace below a vertical height of 1 kilometer, extending up to 3,000 meters based on actual needs. So, what kind of economic activities can take place in this space? It involves using vertical takeoff and landing aircraft and unmanned aerial vehicles to carry passengers and cargo, as well as other low-altitude flight activities. Besides the manufacturing of these aircraft, the entire system's operation also requires infrastructure like takeoff and landing points, communication and navigation software, and operating platforms. This means that the ultra-long industrial chain cycle of the low-altitude economy can generate huge economic benefits, which provides a rare opportunity for cities in China that rely heavily on land finance and traditional industries. Last year, the scale of the low-altitude economy exceeded 500 billion yuan, an increase of 34% over the previous year. It is expected to reach 2 trillion yuan by 2030. Among them, drones and eVTOL are the two main carriers in the future. The full name of eVTOL is Electric Vertical Takeoff and Landing Aircraft, commonly known as flying cars. This year, there have already been over 60 financing events in the low-altitude economy sector, with 12 of them involving financing of 1 yuan or more, mainly concentrated in enterprises and upstream core component companies. In August alone, there were 3 major financing deals. First, Feifei Aviation secured hundreds of millions of dollars in exclusive investment from Ningbo Times, aimed at advancing the research and development of aviation batteries. Shortly after, Huitian, under Xiaoping, announced it had raised $150 million in its first round of financing. On August 19th, Volant announced it had completed its 5th round of 1 yuan level financing this year. As of now, Volant Aviation's Series A round has accumulated $100 million in financing. So why is there so much attention on it? The eVTOL, as a low-altitude vehicle, has many advantages. It replaces the traditional complex aircraft engines with electric motors and batteries, giving eVTOL a clear cost advantage. Compared to mainstream twin-engine helicopters, the cost can be reduced by 20% to 30% after mass production, and the energy consumption is only about 30% of that of helicopter fuel consumption. Additionally, the power output of the electric motor is not affected by oxygen levels, making it not only 1 to 2 orders of magnitude safer than helicopters, but also simpler to maintain. It requires lower operational skill levels from pilots, and can even achieve unmanned flight with the integration of AI. It can carry both passengers and cargo, and especially it can take off and land vertically, flying with less noise and being more environmentally friendly. This breaks the reliance on the construction of specialized airports. It only requires a small area for takeoff and landing. And in the future, it could even be deployed in city centers. Isn't the story of eVTOL and helicopters somewhat similar to that of today's new energy vehicles and traditional fuel cars? In fact, from the very beginning, eVTOL was designed to address the issues of helicopters. When we compare travel times, within 50 kilometers, cars are the most convenient. For distances over 400 kilometers, airplanes are definitely the way to go. However, for distances between 50 and 400 kilometers, eVTOL has the shortest travel time. Referring to the range and flight time of existing projects, it mainly addresses air transportation between suburban and intercity points within densely populated urban spaces. Can you picture it? During peak times, when we're rushing to the airport, you could take a small aircraft to catch a big one, smoothly soaring over the city's traffic chaos. You might even enjoy scrolling through short videos and give my show a thumbs up. So are you wondering when large-scale commercial use will be realized? Well, that depends on 2 factors, cost and policy. The eVTOL industry is expected to perfectly align with the successful model of China's new energy vehicle industry chain, allowing for the reuse of technologies in materials, batteries, motors, as well as communication and navigation. The complete eVTOL system consists of the energy system. The power system, flight control system, avionics, and airframe, among others, are all components of the eVTOL. With the scaling up of technology and production, the purchase cost of eVTOL is expected to drop to 1 million yuan by 2040. In addition, we also need to consider operating costs. Depending on the operational situation, the long-term cost is expected to drop to between 2.25 and 11.23 yuan per kilometer per person. This price is similar to taking a ride-hailing service, but the speed should be 3 to 5 times faster. For example, earlier this year, Peak Flight's product, the Holy Water Dragon, conducted a test flight from Shenzhen to Zhuhai. What used to be a 2.5-hour drive only took 20 minutes to fly. So how much would that cost? Peak Flight Technology says eVTOLs' large-scale use will cut costs to 6 yuan per person and 2 to 300 yuan per seat per kilometer. DD taxi fares are similar, plus tolls. Doesn't this boost cost effectiveness? Last year I mentioned a 500 billion scale. Are you doubting that? 500 billion, yet no aircraft seen, because in addition to the product itself, we need to solve the problem of road rights. Airspace supervision directly affects the progress of drones entering daily traffic scenes. Otherwise, the issue of radish flying fast can only stay in the world of cyberpunk, isn't it? In February 2021, the concept of low-altitude economy was written into the national plan for the first time, and now 27 provinces, municipalities, and autonomous regions in the country. What about the breakthrough change in the low-altitude economy? It happened last year as the airspace management regulations of the People's Republic of China established W-class uncontrolled airspace below 300 meters in vacuum. Importantly, the approval process for flight activities is simplified. The licenses of domestic eVTOL aircraft include 4 stages: research and development, production, airworthiness, and operation. Companies with the 3 airworthiness certificates may do commercial manufacturing and sales. At present, Ahang Intelligent is the only eVTOL enterprise in China that has 3 certificates. In other words, Ahang has the foundation for commercial operation. In the first 2 quarters of this year, due to the purchases brought by local cultural tourism, Ahang also achieved rapid growth. The revenue in the second quarter reached 102 million, an increase of more than 9 times year-on-year. So the ultimate question is, when can we realize the dream of non-low altitude freedom? What about domestic OEMs? Most of them were established after 2020. Among them, Yihang Intelligent Fengfei Aviation was established earlier. At present, the low-altitude economy is similar to new energy vehicles in 2012. It is still in the early stages of development. It is expected that by 2030, the industry will usher in an explosive period, which is about that time. We'll be able to take to the skies. We've talked about so many advantages, but it still faces some issues that need to be resolved, such as airworthiness and regulatory certification, challenges in battery technology, flight control systems, and difficulties with motors and electronic control technologies that need to be overcome. However, its vast potential still deserves our continued attention. But wait. With my fear of heights, can I even do this?